The glass shattered at exactly 2:47 inches the morning, not a window breaking from wind or a dish falling off a counter. This was deliberate, calculated. The sound of someone smashing the sliding door of my back patio with a crowbar. I know it was a crowbar because I found it later, lying on the kitchen tile like a confession. I sat up in bed and listened. Two voices. One belonged to my daughter. The other belonged to her husband. They were whispering. But in the silence of a sleeping house, whispers carry like thunder. "Just grab the files from his office," my daughter said. "We only need the originals." I didn't move. I didn't call out. I sat there in the dark, 71 years old, listening to my own child break into my home to steal from me. And the strangest part? I wasn't surprised. I had been waiting for this. My name is Arthur Caldwell. I grew up in a coal town in eastern Kentucky, the kind of place where you either went into the mines or you left. I left. I was 16 when I hitchhiked to Louisville with $40 and a duffel bag full of clothes that didn't fit right. I slept in a church parking lot the first 3 nights, until the pastor found me and let me stay in the basement in exchange for janitorial work. I mopped floors, cleaned toilets, fixed leaky pipes. I learned that no job is beneath you if it keeps you alive. By 20, I was working construction. By 25, I had my contractor's license. By 30, I started Caldwell Construction with one used bulldozer and a line of credit that made the bank manager laugh when I signed for it. He wasn't laughing 10 years later when I paid it off early and opened my second office. I built strip malls, medical clinics, senior living facilities, schools. I built half the commercial real estate in 3 counties. Not because I was smarter than anyone else, but because I showed up every single day and I never cut corners. Never once. My reputation was my foundation, stronger than any concrete I ever poured. I married Helen when I was 26. She was a kindergarten teacher with a laugh that could fill a room and a stubbornness that matched mine. We had 2 children, Grace, the oldest, and my son, Thomas. We raised them in a good home, maybe too good. I gave them what I never had. Private schools, summer camps, cars on their 16th birthdays, college tuition paid in full. I thought I was building their future. Turns out I was just building their expectations. Helen passed 4 years ago. Pancreatic cancer. 8 weeks from diagnosis to funeral. She went so fast I barely had time to understand what was happening before I was standing in a cemetery watching them lower the only woman I ever loved into the ground. After she died, the house got quiet. Too quiet. I kept the business running because that's all I knew how to do, but the joy was gone. I was just going through motions. Thomas, my son, was always the steady one. He worked at a bank downtown. Had a modest life, a good wife, 2 kids. He never asked me for anything. Never expected anything. He'd come over on Saturdays, mow the lawn, sit on the porch with me, and drink iced tea without saying much. We didn't need words. We understood each other. Grace was different. Grace was hungry. Not the kind of hungry I was at 16, the kind that makes you work. Grace was hungry the way people are when they believe the world owes them something. She married a man named Victor Harmon. Victor was a financial advisor. That's what he called himself. What he really was a man who knew how to make numbers dance so you wouldn't notice your wallet getting lighter. He had a firm handshake, a tailored suit, and the kind of smile that never quite reached his eyes. Helen never trusted him. She told me once, "Arthur, that man looks at our family the way a contractor looks at a demolition site." I should have listened. For years, everything seemed fine on the surface. Grace and Victor came to holiday dinners. They brought their daughter, my granddaughter Lily, who is now 12 and the light of my life. We played the roles of a happy family, but after Helen died, the cracks started showing. It began with small things. Grace asking me how much the company was worth now. Victor offering to review my portfolio as a favor. Grace mentioning casually that I should probably think about what happens to the business when you slow down, Dad. When I slow down, as if 70 was a death sentence. as if building a company for 45 years didn't count because my hair turned gray. Then the questions got sharper. Did I have a succession plan? Had I updated my will since Mom passed? Did I know that most family businesses fail in the second generation because the founder refuses to let go? That last one came from Victor, delivered over Thanksgiving dinner with a piece of pumpkin pie in front of him, casual as you please. I shrugged it off. I told myself they were just concerned, just planning ahead, just being practical. I was wrong. The truth hit me like a wrecking ball 6 months ago. I had gone to my office on a Saturday to catch up on paperwork. I wasn't supposed to be there. Nobody was. But when I pulled into the parking lot, I saw Victor's Mercedes parked near the back entrance. That was strange. Victor had no business being at my company on a Saturday, or any day. I let myself in quietly through the side door. The building was dark, except for a light coming from the conference room on the second floor. I climbed the stairs slowly, my knees complaining with every step, and I heard voices. Grace was there. Victor was there. And a third voice I didn't recognize. A woman, speaking in the clipped, confident tone of someone who does this for a living. The key is establishing a pattern of cognitive decline, the woman said. Missed appointments, repeated questions, confusion about finances. Once we have 3 to 4 documented incidents, we file for conservatorship. The court appoints a guardian, usually a family member, and control of all assets transfers immediately. How long does that take? That was Victor. If we have the right medical opinions, 60 to 90 days. And he can't fight it? Grace asked. My daughter. My firstborn. The little girl I used to carry on my shoulders through the county fair. He can try, but once the petition is filed, a temporary conservator is appointed during proceedings. That means his access to his own accounts is frozen. He can't sell property, can't make major decisions, can't even change his will. Effectively, he becomes a legal child. A legal child. Victor repeated it slowly, savoring it. And then what? Then you sell the company. I have a buyer already interested. National outfit. Been acquiring regional contractors all over the Midwest. They'll pay top dollar for an established brand with Caldwell's reputation. I stood in that dark hallway and felt my heart beating so hard I thought they might hear it. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. A rage so deep and so old it felt like it came from the coal seams back in Kentucky. From every floor I ever mopped, every beam I ever lifted, every sleepless night I spent building something real. They wanted to call me incompetent. They wanted to put me in a box, sign papers over my head, and sell everything I built to the highest bidder. My own daughter. I walked out of that building without making a sound. I sat in my truck in the parking lot and stared at the steering wheel for 20 minutes. Then I drove home, poured myself a glass of bourbon, and started planning. The first person I called was my lawyer, Ed Brennan. Not some corporate attorney. Ed was a trial lawyer, a fighter, a 73-year-old bulldog who had been through 2 divorces, a disbarment scare, and a bout with throat cancer and came out swinging from all of them. I told him everything. Arthur, he said after a long pause, I need you to understand something. This is not a family disagreement. This is a hostile takeover using the legal system as a weapon. And if we don't move fast, they will bury you. Then we move fast. First thing, get evaluated. I want 3 independent neurological exams from doctors who have no connection to your family. We need bulletproof documentation that you are mentally sharp. I am mentally sharp. I know that. Now we need a judge to know it. I took those evaluations the following week. 3 different neurologists. Hours of testing. Memory, reasoning, problem-solving, executive function. Every single result came back the same. Arthur Caldwell shows no signs of cognitive impairment. His mental acuity is consistent with a high-functioning individual decades younger. I kept those reports in a safe that nobody but Ed and I knew about. The second thing I did was call Frank DeLuca. Frank and I had been friends since the early days. He was a plumber who became a real estate developer, who became one of the wealthiest men in the state. More importantly, Frank was loyal. Loyal the way men are when they've been through hard times together. I told him what was happening. "You need witnesses," Frank said immediately. "People in your corner who can testify that you're sharp, that you're competent, that nobody's pushing you around. I also need eyes on my company. Victor's already been inside the building. I don't know what he's been doing." "Then let me make some calls." Frank did more than make calls. He brought in a forensic accountant, a woman named Patricia Reeves, who had spent 20 years at the FBI investigating white-collar crime before going private. I gave her access to everything, every account, every ledger, every contract, and I told her one thing: follow the money. Wherever it goes, whatever you find, I want to know. What Patricia found made me sick. Grace and Victor had been bleeding me for 3 years. Not from the construction company directly. They were smarter than that. They had been accessing my personal investment accounts. Victor, using his position as my financial advisor, had been making trades, moving money between accounts, setting up fees and commissions that went directly to a separate LLC registered in Victor's brother's name. Small amounts at first. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. Always disguised as management fees, advisory charges, rebalancing costs. Over 3 years, they had siphoned nearly $780,000. $780,000. Money I earned pouring foundations in January, sweating through August heat, working weekends while my competitors were on the golf course, stolen by a man who shook my hand every Sunday at dinner and called me dad. But that wasn't the worst of it. Patricia also discovered that Victor had been in contact with Ashford National Builders, the company that wanted to buy Caldwell Construction. Emails going back 18 months, preliminary valuations, draft acquisition terms. They had already agreed on a price, $14.2 million, for the whole operation. The plan was simple: get the conservatorship, gain legal control, sell the company, split the money, and leave me sitting in some facility watching game shows while they lived off my life's work. When I saw those emails, I sat in my study and cried for the first time since Helen's funeral. Not because of the money, because of the betrayal. Because my daughter had sat across from me at Christmas dinner, held my hand during grace, and told me she loved me while her husband was negotiating the sale of everything I owned. For 2 months, I said nothing. I went to Sunday dinners. I let Victor review my accounts. I smiled when Grace told me I should think about retiring. I played the role of the trusting old man perfectly. But behind the scenes, I was building my case like I build my buildings. One beam at a time. Solid. Level. Unbreakable. Ed restructured my will. The old one was torn up. The new one was specific, detailed, and ruthless. Any family member who attempted to challenge my competency would be automatically disinherited. Every penny. No exceptions. I created an irrevocable trust for the company. 7 trustees, all handpicked. Long-time employees, Frank, Ed, people whose loyalty I had earned over decades. To sell the company, you needed unanimous consent from all 7. Victor could file all the conservatorship papers he wanted. It wouldn't matter. The company was locked in a vault he couldn't crack. I also quietly changed all my passwords. Every financial account, every email, every system. Victor's access was revoked without notification. He wouldn't know until he tried to log in, and by then, it would be too late. Then I changed the locks on my house. New deadbolts, new security system, cameras at every entrance, every window, recording 24 hours a day. Because I knew what was coming. I had built things my entire life. I understood foundations. And I understood that when you pull the foundation out from under someone who thought they were standing on solid ground, they don't negotiate. They attack. The night I chose to reveal everything was calculated. I invited Grace and Victor for dinner on a Wednesday, just the 3 of us. I told them I wanted to discuss my retirement plans, that I had been thinking about stepping back from the company, that I wanted their input. Grace practically floated through the door. She was beaming. Victor had a bottle of expensive wine, the kind you bring when you think you're about to close a deal. I cooked Helen's pot roast recipe. We sat at the dining room table, the same table where we had celebrated birthdays and holidays for 20 years. We talked about the weather, about Lily's soccer team, about a trip Grace wanted to take to Italy. Normal things, family things. After dessert, I set my coffee cup down and looked at both of them. I know what you've been doing. 4 words. The room went cold. Victor smiled. The reflex of a man who cons people for a living. What do you mean, Arthur? I opened a folder I'd placed under my chair before they arrived. Bank statements. The LLC filings. Patricia's forensic report. Victor's emails with Ashford National Builders. Screenshots of the conservatorship consultation with the woman whose name turned out to be Dr. Sandra Kelp, a psychologist who specialized in elder competency cases and who, it turned out, had lost her license in another state for falsifying evaluations. I laid it all on the table, piece by piece, like dealing cards. Grace's face went white. She stared at the papers as if they were going to catch fire. Dad, I can explain. You can't, I said, because I was standing in the hallway when you discussed it. I heard every word. The conservatorship, the sale, the buyer, all of it. Victor's smile disappeared, his jaw clenched. Arthur, whatever you think you heard, $780,000. That's what you stole from me. Through fake fees, phantom commissions, and an LLC registered to your brother. It's all in that report. Patricia Reeves, former FBI forensic accountant. You can try to dispute it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Grace started crying. Not the quiet tears of someone who's sorry. The loud, panicked crying of someone who just realized the ground beneath them is gone. I've already changed my will, I continued. I've placed the company in an irrevocable trust. You have no access to my accounts anymore. And everything in that folder has been copied and sent to my attorney. If you try to file for conservatorship, these documents go to the district attorney. If you try to contest my will, these documents go public. If you come near my company, my home, or my accounts again, I will press criminal charges for fraud and embezzlement. Victor stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. You can't do this. We're your family. You stopped being my family the day you started treating me like a mark. Get out of my house. Grace was sobbing. Dad, please. Just give us a chance to make this right. You had 3 years to make it right. Every Sunday dinner was a chance. Every time you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me while your husband was stealing my money. You had 1,000 chances. They left. Victor slammed the front door so hard the frame cracked. I heard their car tear out of the driveway. And then silence. The kind of silence that settles into a house when something fundamental has changed and can never go back. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, at 2:47 inches the morning, they came back. Not through the front door this time. Through the back patio. With a crowbar. But what Grace and Victor didn't know was that Frank DeLuca had been staying in my guest room for 10 days. Ed had advised it. When cornered animals get desperate, they do desperate things, he said. Don't be alone. Frank was already awake when the glass broke. He was a light sleeper, had been since Vietnam. He appeared in my bedroom doorway fully dressed, calm as a man checking the morning paper. Stay here, he said. I already called the police. Let's see what they do. We stood at the top of the stairs and listened. I could hear Grace rummaging through my office on the first floor. Drawers opening. Files being shuffled. Victor was cursing under his breath. They're not here. Grace hissed. He moved them. Check the safe. I don't have the combination. Then we take the whole damn safe. That was when I turned on the hallway light and walked down the stairs. Frank was behind me. and behind Frank was the soft glow of his phone screen, recording everything. Grace froze when she saw me. She was holding a stack of folders, my personal files, tax returns, property deeds. Victor was on his knees beside my small office safe, trying to pry it open with the crowbar. "Put them down," I said. Grace's hands were trembling. She set the folders on the desk. Victor stood up slowly, the crowbar still in his hand. "Mr. Harmon," Frank said from behind me, his voice steady and hard. "I strongly suggest you put that down before you add assault charges to the breaking and entering you've already committed." Victor looked at Frank, then at me, then at the crowbar. He dropped it. "Dad, we just needed Grace started. You needed nothing. You wanted everything. There's a difference. Sirens. Getting closer. Blue and red lights painting the walls through the broken patio door. 2 officers arrived within minutes. The security cameras had captured everything. Grace and Victor were arrested. Breaking and entering, attempted theft, destruction of property. I stood on my porch and watched them put my daughter in the back of a patrol car. She was crying, begging me to tell the officers it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the logical conclusion of 3 years of greed. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I sat in my office, surrounded by the scattered files Grace had pulled from the drawers, and I looked at a photograph on the wall. Helen and me, on our wedding day. Both of us so young. Both of us so certain that love would be enough to hold everything together. The days that followed were brutal. I filed the charges. The news leaked to the media. Local contractor's daughter arrested for breaking into father's home. Financial advisor's son-in-law faces fraud investigation. The story spread fast in our town. Everyone knew the Caldwell name. Everyone had an opinion. Thomas came to see me the morning after the arrest. He sat across from me at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee he didn't drink. "Are you okay?" he asked. "No. What do you need?" "I need my daughter to not be who she turned out to be." He was quiet for a long time. "She's been calling me, crying, saying you're destroying the family. What do you think?" Thomas looked at me with those steady eyes, so much like his mother's. "I think you built everything we have, and I think anyone who tries to steal it from you deserves what they get. But I also think she's my sister, and part of me wants to believe there's something worth saving in her. There might be. But she has to find it herself. I can't do it for her." The legal process moved forward. Victor's attorney tried every trick. He argued that I had entrapped them, that I had provoked the break-in by cutting them off financially, that my behavior showed signs of paranoia consistent with early-stage dementia. Ed shut down every argument. The neurological evaluations were entered into evidence. 3 doctors, 3 clean reports. The judge wasn't impressed with Victor's theory. Patricia's forensic report was devastating. The FBI-trained accountant had documented every transaction, every fake fee, every shell transfer. Victor's own emails were the final nail. The DA's office added wire fraud to the charges. Grace's attorney came to me with a settlement offer. Grace would plead guilty to misdemeanor trespassing. She'd pay restitution of her share of the stolen funds. She'd agree to supervised contact only. In exchange, I'd drop the felony charges. "What do you want to do?" Ed asked me. I stared out the window at Helen's rose garden. "I want my daughter back," I said, "but not this version of her. If she pleads guilty, if she admits what she did, if she agrees to counseling, I'll consider it." She agreed. All of it. In court, Grace stood before the judge and admitted that she had participated in a scheme to defraud her father, that she had knowingly allowed her husband to steal from me, that she had conspired to have me declared incompetent. Her voice broke 3 times during the statement. I was sitting in the back of the courtroom. I didn't look away. I owed her that much. To witness what her choices had cost her. Victor got no deal. He went to trial and lost. Wire fraud, embezzlement, attempted conservatorship fraud. The judge sentenced him to 4 years. Standing there in his tailored suit listening to the verdict, he finally didn't look like a man in control. He looked like what he always was, a thief in expensive clothes. Grace filed for divorce that same week. She moved into a small apartment on the east side of town with Lily. She got a job as an office manager at a dental practice, the first real job she'd had in 15 years. She didn't ask me for money. She didn't ask me for anything. 2 months passed before she called. "Can I come see you?" she asked. Her voice sounded different, smaller, tired, but something else too, something honest. Yes. She came on a Sunday afternoon. She looked older, thinner, no designer clothes, just jeans and a sweater. She sat on the same porch where Helen and I used to watch thunderstorms roll in across the valley. "I'm not going to make excuses," she said. "I did what I did. I knew it was wrong and I did it anyway." "Why?" She stared at the trees for a long time. "Because after Mom died, I was terrified. Not of losing you, of losing the security, the money, the safety net. Mom always made me feel like everything would be okay. And when she was gone, I panicked. And Victor, he saw that panic, and he used it. He told me we needed to protect ourselves, that you were getting older, that anything could happen. And I believed him because I wanted to. You could have talked to me. I know. But I was ashamed of being afraid. And then once we started down that path, every step made the next one easier. That's the thing about dishonesty. It builds on itself. One lie leads to the next. And before you know it, you're standing in your father's office at 3 a.m. holding his files, and you don't even recognize yourself anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. Real tears this time. I could tell the difference now. "I am sorry, Dad. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know I can't undo what I did. But I need you to know that I am sorry." I didn't say anything for a while. I just sat there listening to the birds, feeling the afternoon sun on my face, thinking about Helen, about what she would do. "Your mother always believed people could change," I said finally. "She believed it more than I ever did. I'm an old man. I build things out of concrete and steel because those things are predictable. People aren't. I know, but I'm willing to try. Not to go back to what we had. That's gone. But maybe to build something new, something more honest." She nodded. She was crying quietly. "Lily misses you," she said. "I miss her too. Tell her she can come by whenever she wants. The door's always open." And I meant it. The door was open. New locks, new security system, cameras running, but open. Thomas and I had dinner together that night. He brought his wife and the kids. We grilled steaks in the backyard. The grandchildren ran around chasing fireflies. It felt almost normal, almost like the family we used to be, but with empty chairs that reminded us of what we lost. "You did the right thing," Thomas told me as we cleaned up. "Then why doesn't it feel right?" "Because doing the right thing and feeling good about it aren't the same thing. You taught me that." "Did he?" "Every time you got up at 4 a.m. to pour concrete in the rain. Every time you fired someone who was cutting corners even though it cost you a contract. Every time you chose the hard thing, because it was the right thing." I looked at my son and saw something I needed to see. I saw proof that I hadn't failed at everything. That something I planted had grown straight. A month later, I received a letter from Lily, written on lined notebook paper with purple ink and a sticker of a cat in the corner. "Dear Grandpa, Mom says you and her had a big fight, but you're trying to work it out. I don't understand everything that happened, but I know that you are a good person, and I love you. Can I come over on Saturday? I want to learn how to build a birdhouse. Love, Lily." I read that letter 4 times. Then I went to the garage and started cutting wood. Saturday morning, Lily showed up with sawdust-colored hair pulled back in a ponytail and a determination in her eyes that reminded me so much of Helen it made my chest ache. "Ready?" I asked. "Ready?" We built a birdhouse together. I showed her how to measure twice, cut once, how to sand the edges so they're smooth, how to drive a nail straight. She was focused, careful, patient. She didn't complain when she bent a nail. She just pulled it out and tried again. "Grandpa," she said while we painted it blue, "are you going to be okay?" "I am going to be just fine. Promise?" "Promise." She hung the birdhouse in the oak tree in my front yard. We stood there watching it. Two Caldwells, 71 and 12. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not the naive hope of a young man who thinks everything will work out. The earned hope of an old man who knows that some things break and can't be fixed, but other things, new things, can still be built. Today I'm sitting in my study. The company is stable. We just landed a contract for a new medical complex that'll keep us busy for 2 years. The trust is secure. The board is strong. Thomas has started attending meetings, learning the business from the ground up, the way I always wished his sister had. Grace and I have lunch once a month. It's careful. It's guarded. We don't talk about what happened. We talk about Lily, about the weather, about small, safe things. We are rebuilding, but slowly, the way you rebuild after a storm. You check the foundation first. You make sure it's solid before you put up walls. Some nights, I still sit on the porch and talk to Helen. I tell her about the grandkids, about the business, about the oak tree with the blue birdhouse. I tell her about Grace and about the long, hard road we're walking. I tell her I'm sorry I couldn't keep the family together the way she did. And in the silence that follows, I swear I can hear her voice, gentle and stubborn as always, saying, "You did your best, Arthur. That's all any of us can do." I want to say one thing to you, whoever is listening. If you are old and someone tells you that your time is up, that you don't matter anymore, that you should step aside and let someone else take what you built, look them in the eye and say no. Say it calmly, say it firmly, and mean it, because your age is not a weakness. It is proof that you survived. Every gray hair, every aching joint, every scar you carry is evidence that you showed up, day after day, year after year, and you did not quit. Nobody gets to take that from you. Not your children, not their lawyers, not any court in the land. Your dignity belongs to you. It was never theirs to take. My name is Arthur Caldwell. I am 71 years old. I built my company with these hands. I defended it with these hands. And I'm still here, still standing, still building. And if that isn't enough proof that I've earned my place in this world, then nothing ever will be. Thank you for listening. God bless.